The headlines will tell you that Ontario is the only province in Canada where home prices have declined year over year. And I'm here to tell you, those headlines, they're not telling you the full truth, but I will. Hey there, and welcome back to Prairie Real Estate. My name is Matthew Fife, Real Estate Agent in Regina, and that is my trusted assistant, Matilda. This is my monthly Canadian real estate market update for the month of October 2025. I'm focusing on the Ontario real estate market in this video. I've got other videos for BC, the Prairies, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada. I'll put the links in those in the description below. But of course, this wouldn't be a Prairie real estate video without starting off with another one of my terrible bad dad jokes. Now this joke, it's about paper. Never mind. It's terrible. If you have a terrible joke I can use in the future, put it in the comments below. Let's get into the video. Remember the beginning of the video, what I said, that the headline saying that Ontario is the only place where prices are declining right now year over year. That wasn't really truthful. This is why. So in Ottawa, they're actually seeing home prices increasing this year. Let's dive into the stats. Much like Toronto, Ottawa saw the busiest September for home sales since 2021. Unlike in Toronto, the numbers are a fair bit closer in Ottawa. About 1,100 homes sold last month, obviously down versus the 5-year, up versus last year. When looking at previous years, though, I think the big standard here is 2020 is really skewing the 5-year average. Over 2,000 homes sold that September. Outside of that, you can see that the 1,100 home sales would actually be on the higher end of it over the last 10 years or so. And with 3 months left in the year, there's a pretty good chance we'll see 13,500 to 14,000 homes sold in Ottawa. If that happens, they'll actually end the year as the best year since 2021. Again, that being kind of the outlier. 2020, 2019, all fair bit higher. Would be more in line with kind of that 2018 type time frame. They have about 15,000 homes sold then. Most new listings in essentially the last 10 years. That's the type of numbers you want to hear if you're a buyer. And that's what we got in Ottawa this past month. 2,800 new listings in a single month. This is awesome for home buyers. You can see up significantly versus the 5 average and a fair bit up versus last year. And really, it's only 2020 that you get close to 2,800 new listings a month. They had 2,600 back then. Even better news, if you're out shopping for homes in Ottawa, is the active listings, 4,400 approximately, up substantially versus last year and the 5 average. The problem with the 5-year average is that home sales or home availability in Ottawa was so low in this 2019, 2020 timeframe, and it had been declining basically since about 2015, 2016. We saw active inventory continue to get eaten away, predominantly driven by the big expansion of the federal government, so jobs coming up in Ottawa, and the inventory just got so crazy low there. So yes, the 4,400 looks like it's way up versus the 5-year average and year over year. Really, it's just kind of getting back to probably where it should be for a more balanced market in Ottawa. I'm going to tell you a real quick story here. I just sat down the other day with a young couple getting ready to buy their first home. They actually moved from Vancouver to Regina because they can afford to buy a house here. They're never going to be able to afford to buy a house in Vancouver, and they're super excited to get started. And I am excited to be their agent, and I would love to be your agent as well if you're looking at buying a house in Regina. But if you're not in Regina, I can still help you out because I've got a great network of agents across the entire country. If you look in the description of this video, down there's going to be a link to my calendar where you can book me in for a call. And even with all of that new inventory and active inventory, you're looking here in terms of the market balance stats, 3.6 months inventory, that's just barely over a seller's market, so bottom end of a balanced market. It's interesting looking at the sales to new listing ratio, again, driven by a huge jump in new listings. We see this metric reverse. It had been trending up, meaning the market had been tightening up here up until last month. We actually got almost into a seller's market in August, and now we've dropped down below the balance market into a buyer's market territory according to this metric. But when you're looking at the sales to active listing ratio here, you can see all year long, it's been above 20, except January, I guess here. It's been above 20, which means that it's been a seller's market in Ottawa, according to this metric, for the entire year. And that's partially why we've seen price increases. And yeah, we are seeing home price increase in Ottawa. Just look here. Every single month so far this year in Ottawa, we've had a year over year price increase. Now, this is one of the smaller ones at 1% this year. And you can see that the month over month trend is down. That's expected this time of year as the market kind of cools off with the weather. You see a softening in pricing. Probably good chance we'll see Ottawa prices, the benchmark price, end somewhere in that 615 to 620 range I anticipate it'll still be up year over year by the end of the year, but it's probably going to be pretty close. I want to take a quick time out here. If you're liking this content, please give this video a like and subscribe to Bald Prairie Real Estate if you like keeping up to date on the Canadian real estate market. The headlines, and I'm sure every realtor in Toronto is saying how year over year home sales increased, busiest year since 2021. That is factually correct, but we got to dive into the data here because it's also a little bit misleading. So there's 5,600 homes that sold last month in Toronto. Yes, up of 12% versus last year, and the busiest September since 2021 when there was 9,000 homes that sold. So this, yeah, sure, busiest since then, but nowhere even close to as busy as it was back in 2021. The other interesting note is that it was also a month over month increase in home sales, and that generally is less common this time of year. Year to date, there's been about 48,000 homes sold, and they're on pace to get close to about 70,000 homes sold. I think that's fairly likely at this point, although definitely not guaranteed. And if that were to happen, it would be the best year in the last three. I don't think they're going to get the 75,000 homes that sold in 2022, and obviously nowhere near that. What is it, 122,000 homes that sold in 2021? But it is probably going to be an improvement from last year and the previous year. Now let's talk about new listings. With 19,000 new listings, it was not only a fairly sizable increase year over year, it was a fairly substantial jump from the previous month. So we had about 14,000 new listings 2 months ago and over 19,000 this month. Now, the interesting thing here is that we haven't had a September with this many new listings since September of 2020. And really, even last year wasn't that close with 18,000 new listings in the month. When talking about active listings, almost 30,000 right now. Obviously, substantial increase not only over last year, but over the 5-year average. Now, the thing I'm noticing here, though, is that you can see that the difference versus last year continues to decline, has every single month basically throughout the year. We peaked out here in March at 88% up and then have dropped the entire year. Versus the 5-year average, that has also been declining since May, and then we just saw last month it peaked back up. We'll have to wait and see if this is kind of a 1-month thing or if it's the start of a new trend. Now let's talk about the market bounce, starting off with months of inventory. As you can see, from March all the way through up until September, we had seen that months of inventory declining, and then we hit September and it jumps back up. Again, let's wait and see if this is just a one-off or the start of a trend, because it's been very consistent through the year with that declining months of inventory. When it comes to sales to listing ratio, you're going to see a similar trend repeating itself. The market had actually been tightening up as we'd seen that number increasing throughout the year, and then it reversed this past month. Looking though versus the past couple of years, it is still better, although albeit very slightly, than the last 2 years at this time of year. And looking at sales to active listing ratio, honestly, a little bit boring because it's been about 20 the entire year. Really not much fluctuation off that at all. When it comes to home prices in Toronto, it's a continuation of the same story. And it's just becoming, how low will they go as the market continues to drop? We've seen basically since March that home prices have been down 5%-ish year over year. I'm wondering now, do we see this benchmark price get below $900,000? Last year from this time, we saw prices drop about another $10,000 in the benchmark price. So 10%-ish. I don't think we're going to get enough drop to get below $900,000, but I want you guys to let me know in the comments below. Do you think we're going to see this benchmark price in Toronto get to $899 before 2025 is done?